Hey everybody, Ryan here with Ray's Latest, and today we are back from Thanksgiving. Hope every single one of you had a great week and enjoyed some good food and some pumpkin pie and things of that nature with the family. But we missed a lot of news since the last episode, and so we're just going to dive straight into that. First off, we're just going to start. Xavier Isaac reveals the reason why he was put on the IL July 3rd of this. He was put on the IL July 7th, but July 3rd was when he went to the doctor to try to. He thought he had some dehydration issues, and he was listed on the IL as having an elbow injury, which he did have an elbow injury, and that's why he was listed on the IL. But he went to the doctor with beliefs of having some hydration issues and being dehydrated. And they gave him a brain scan, and turns out that he had a tumor in his brain that required emergency surgery to be removed. And he posted on Instagram Thanksgiving Day, pretty much just giving thanks to everybody and telling everybody why he was gone for so long for the end of the year. And I honestly, props to the entire Rays organization for how they handled that. It was not leaked anywhere by anybody. I have not seen anything about it. I have never heard anything about him after he went on the IL all season. And it's crazy how just the dehydration factor kind of led to him getting a brain scan. I'm sure he kind of felt something off with his head at times, but just that how that all turned out and how the Rays organization handled everything, keeping it secure, all the information secure and in house while he was he's now completely recovered from that surgery. Really props off to the Rays organization, and all props to Xavier Isaac as well. I can't imagine having to deal with something like that, especially in the middle of a season, especially it being such a young age. It's just having a tumor in your brain or a tumor anywhere in your body is just scary. And being such a young age, that's even scarier. And for somebody of his athletic stature and conditioning and all things of that nature, it's scary. And I realize it could happen to anybody, but having it happen to somebody like that in the organization just makes it a little bit more real. And props out to him. He's been battling since July, and I hope that he can keep playing moving forward at the level he was playing at, which I have no doubt that he is. He's a great man, great baseball player, great person. So we'll see how he comes back from that. But again, all props to him, all props to the organization, all props to the Rays training staff and the hospital staff that took care of all of that. Great for them. Gonna transition over to Zach Eflin. And I know that Zach Eflin is kind of one of those people that have kind of left a sour note in the Rays organization after his statements after being traded about how he hated the fan base and how there was no fan base and how he just didn't like the atmosphere in Tampa and in the Trop, and it was really kind of bad how he kind of handled that and some of the statements he was making from that. But it kind of nothing really transpired out of it. So, like after being traded in 2024, his strikeout rate fell to 19.6% compared to the 26% that he had in 2023. And he was limited to just 14 starts before he was injured, and he had a 5.93 ERA with a 16.2% strikeout rate this past season. So, the numbers have kind of fell pretty significantly since leaving the Rays organization after being traded to go to Baltimore. And is that a Rays pitching staff organization structure, or is that a him thing, or is that a combination of a lot of different things? It could be. I don't significantly see, he's only 32. So I don't see that kind of being like an age factor of being 30 and then 32 as being a pretty significant issue with that. But he does have a little bit of a sour note in the Rays after some of the statements he said when he left. But he's a cheap back end starter that could seriously provide for the Rays pitching staff, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be opposed to having a Zach Eflin signing this offseason. And I also wouldn't be really opposed to having Adrian Hauser kind of signing. I think it'd be one of them, one of the two would be my ideal signing for a back end guy. So we'll see kind of where the Rays go with that, but I would not mind seeing Eflin kind of back in a Rays uniform and put all the other stuff aside and kind of just see what he can do and kind of see if he can progress back to where he was because he finished sixth in the AL Cy Young voting in 2023. So if we can get him anywhere back to where he was in 2023 with the Rays, I think the sky's the limit with that guy, and I think he's a really good pitcher, and I think he could provide for us very well. And another kind of interesting signing, kind of more of trade that I've been seeing places is Sean Murphy kind of being a trade target for us from the catching perspective. And the reason why I kind of like find this pretty interesting is he's at a 6 year, $73 million contract that's up in 2028. So he's only got 3 years left on his contract, 26, 27, and 28. And he's getting about a little over 12 a year, 12.4 if my math's on the spot is pretty correct there. So it's interesting to kind of see that I would not pay him $12.4 million. I wouldn't eat all of that contract in a trade. I would have the Braves eat some of that, which I think they might think about doing, considering that he hit 199 last year in 94 games, and now that they have Drake Baldwin as kind of like their surging catcher after winning the NL Rookie of the Year this past season, I think they're kind of trying to transfer away from him and kind of shift away from Murphy after giving him that big contract after the 2023 or after the 2022 season. 2023 was his first year with the Braves. I mean, in his first year with the Braves, he did fantastic. I mean, he had a 127 OPS plus, hit 21 homers. And from a catching perspective, I mean, that's about as solid as you're going to get from a bat. So I do think that the Braves are kind of trying to transition away from getting Sean Murphy off the contracts and kind of letting Drake Baldwin be the primary everyday catcher. So some of the trade packages I've been seeing is primarily Shane Baz and Xavier Isaac for Murphy straight up, which I think is a little bit of an overreach considering how highly regarded Xavier Isaac is from a prospect standpoint in the league. So I wouldn't necessarily be completely okay with Boz and Isaac. Now, if it was more of Sean Murphy, where they see something in his bat and his possibilities of kind of stepping back up from where he hit 199 last season to kind of, because that 199, that's on par. That's worse than the catchers we have now, who we seemingly always complain about hitting from the backstop. So I think from that perspective, I don't think those two prospects would be the right answer and the right package for Murphy. I think you could give the Braves a little less, unless it's one of those things where you kind of have to give them a decent prospect haul to be able to have them eat some of that contract, which you're going to have to do. And at the end of the day, I just don't think it's a right idea to give up that much for him, considering that he's getting paid over $12 million a year. So we'll see kind of where they go with that and kind of see if that could be anywhere of a possibility. But he would have to prove that he can swing it a lot better compared to the last season. So maybe he just had a down year, but we'll kind of see how that tracks. And then kind of just some house cleaning. Brandon Hyde is set to join the front office. And for those of you who don't know who Brandon Hyde is, he was the manager for the Orioles 2 years ago when they won 101 games and won the AL East, and then got fired the next season after only winning 75. So it's interesting. Well, he was dismissed this past season after starting 15 and 28. So after winning the AL East, winning 101 games, he has a pretty disappointing season, 75 wins, 87 losses, and then starts out the year 15 and 28, and then they're kind of kicked him to the curb. So it's kind of interesting how quick of a leash the Orioles had on him, but he is set to join the Rays front office as kind of like an advisor, baseball advisor role. So I'm kind of very intrigued to see what kind of baseball knowledge that he's going to bring to the front office, especially kind of like what he's going to be doing. And I wonder if he kind of transitions into an operations role, maybe, or if he's kind of just solely kind of there to help Kevin Cash in a certain way, kind of like you see in college football, where you have all these big name coaches come in as special advisors, whatever that means that they do. But it's interesting to see. And I kind of don't mind having him around the clubhouse. I think it's a pretty good addition, and we'll kind of see what he brings to the organization. But you guys, let me know what you guys think. What you think about Zach Eflin? What you think about Sean Murphy? And then also what you think about the newest addition of Brandon Hyde to the front office in an advisory role. And you guys have a great one.